Hi guys and girls, I'm Obsidian Ant and welcome to Elite Dangerous Imperial Clipper. Patch 1.4 has just dropped, so I thought it way past time to get back into my Clipper and have a look at what's going on with it. Now I'm needing to earn quite a lot of credits as I want to outfit this ship with a very good loadout. At the moment it's got just a very basic one. There's a couple of ways I could go about making credits. Previously I've done a lot of trading, but with patch 1.4 a number of changes were introduced into mining, so it seemed like that could be a good opportunity and a good place to head out and have a look in order to see just how effective those particular changes are. Right here I'm just returning from one mining trip, but before we have a look at how much I made on that journey, let's take a look at a few of the other things I got up to after the release of the new patch. As you will have probably seen from my beta videos, combat has taken a massive upturn in this version of the game. With that in mind, I put my extremely underpowered Imperial Clipper into storage, purchased a new Vulture and outfitted it with some of the best modules I could actually afford. I then went and found myself a high intensity resource extraction site. Now these used to be one of the top tier bounty hunting zones, but they had a lot of problems in patch 1.3 where decent ships just were not appearing in the area. With the new patch we do have a new tier above this, which is the hazardous resource extraction sites. Those ones are quite tough and they do not have a police presence. Now I didn't go into one of them, I went straight to the high intensity one, but as you can see I immediately got embroiled in some particularly interesting combat. Extraction sites now not only feature some of the higher spec ships, but they also have the return of the Anaconda to these zones. I've tried these areas on and off over the past few months, but just not found enough interest here to keep me coming back. But now that has all changed. This third lance here is a particularly juicy target and is about to pay out a nice handsome bonus. 175,000 credits for my first bounty within this site is a great start. So I immediately went in search of some new targets. Now the Vulture here is the first time I've used a beam laser with it. It seems to be working quite well, but obviously you can't fire both weapons constantly. I couldn't quite afford to outfit a class 5 shield, so at the moment I've just got a class 4 B-rated shield, along with a couple of shield boosters. So already you can probably no doubt see that the high intensity part of the name of this site is by no means an understatement. There is a lot of activity going on here, not just involving me, but involving the security forces and all the pirates that keep turning up. The downside perhaps for the NPC miners is that it's very difficult for them to do their job, but for player miners they have the entire ring system to mine, so these areas are great resources for pirates and for bounty hunters alike. It appears that with the live version of this patch, just as with the beta version, you can stay in these areas more or less as long as you like and you will find a constant source of targets to attack. Now I've seen a few people comment on the fact that this they would class as farming. To that I just say, well, Elite features enough different styles of gameplay that we can all pretty much find something to suit our own tastes. So the more different types of combat areas we have, the better, even if some of them may be classed as farming zones by certain types of players. I was actually hoping to find a federal gunship or an assault ship to attack, but after attacking a few dropships I found them to be now particularly tough characters. This one here is deadly, and well, he almost lives up to his namesake. Of course at the moment he's only stripped me down by one shield ring, but he's enough of a challenge that you really need to keep your eye on the ball. The combat AI has definitely improved its tactics and they seem a fair bit more tougher now than what they were previously. Also, the improved asteroid fields have made it into the live server. You can see that the colour mismatch asteroids have now all but gone. That said though, I have heard tell that certain of the ring systems do still have a couple of graphical problems. It's not something I've seen or noticed myself yet, but it's something that I will keep an eye out for. So the high intensity extraction sites are definitely a bunch of exciting stuff. And I fully intend to get out and try a hazardous extraction site as well, although I'm not sure if I will do that in a Vulture. The Vulture's pretty tough, but I don't know if my skills are up to dropping into one of those zones with it. Now, I spent just 30 minutes or so within that extraction site, and I've come back here to collect the bounties. Let's see how much I get in that time. As you saw from the footage just now, there are plenty of targets there, and they pay out quite a lot, and 1.6 million in total is a fair old payout for just 30 minutes worth of combat. So shortly after this, I went back and retrieved my Imperial Clipper and decided to try a bit of mining, just as I mentioned at the beginning of the video. I was fortunate enough to get the location of a pristine metallic ring system, and although it took a few jumps to get there, I'm hoping that the payout and the time spent is going to be well worth it. Metallic asteroids are the best grade of rocks in the game, and they will give you the highest quality metals and minerals available, and that includes palladium and platinum, as well as some of the higher rated stuff. So what I wanted to try out here were the new mining changes. I've got a refinery fitted here. It's got 9 bins, meaning that I can collect 9 different types of ore, but I really only want to collect the best type. Now, one of the biggest changes introduced into mining is that you now no longer have to allocate a resource once it's been collected. It would automatically go into a bin as long as one is available. And this keeps the pace of mining a lot more interesting, especially if you've got a lot of collector limpets. It also means you don't have to fiddle around with menus constantly. Now, whilst the type of this asteroid field is metallic, the quality is actually pristine, and this is the best type to look out for. Pristine means that you'll be able to collect a lot higher volume of ores and metals. In some cases here, I was finding chunks of ore that were 50% purity of palladium. I've only got 2 collector limpet drones. I've heard of people using a lot more, some as many as 10. I'm not quite sure how well that would function. Even with 2, I tend to end up losing them. Weird that the system keep telling me that collector limpet has been destroyed. They seem to either commit suicide by crashing themselves into the asteroids or into the side of my ship, so I'm not sure how people manage when they've got so many of these. 10 would be probably way beyond my ability to actually keep control of. I was quite fortunate out here. I didn't encounter any pirates at all, although I did arm my ship with a couple of large pulse lasers as well as a class 3 shield, so I would have been prepared for it, so long as the pirates didn't turn up in an Anaconda, a Python or a gunship. So whilst mining has definitely improved by a whole lot, I spent about an hour in here battling with the various disconnects and a few other server issues, and I was only able to get a few tons of ore overall. So whilst I would have liked to have spent a lot longer there, I just couldn't justify the time any longer, so really wanted to get moving on. And this brings us back to where I started the video, at the commodities screen, about to sell all the ore I'd collected. So my current balance is just shy of 7.3 million credits. I've got a lot obviously invested in the various ships I currently own, but let's see how much I get for the rather small amount of ore I've got here. I could have collected a lot more, but that would have meant spending a lot more time there, and I didn't really bother collecting any of the lower value ore. I just basically skipped by that. So 170,000 credits here for 12 tons of palladium. You know, that's pretty good, but at the end of the day, I can't help thinking that that one ship I destroyed right at the beginning of this video, the Ferdinand, gave me 175,000 credits with far less effort. Now, I really do understand that we perhaps shouldn't be comparing the professions like for like in terms of the amount of credits we can earn from them, but when it's this amount of difference, I just can't help doing that. So once again, whilst I've professed many times that I really do enjoy mining, it certainly wouldn't be my first choice as a way of earning a load of credits. So the improvements here are really dramatic. They've made a huge change to what mining is all about. But in my opinion, it needs to go a little further yet. At any rate, that leaves me back in the position of still needing to earn some money, so it's a return to combat. I've gone back in the Vulture here, and this time I've applied a paint job to it. And of course, I want to put some decals on as well. So I'll go with my highest rated one here, which at the moment is an expert in combat. So still not that high, quite a long way to go. But it's better than nothing, and it's certainly better than novice. I also thought this would be a good time to try out the EGX decal that I've got. So a quick stint into the redeem screen on the website, and here it is, the EGX X decal. There's been some confusion over the fact that the EGX code actually grants a decal and not a paint job, but I can actually confirm that it is meant to include a paint job as well. I've spoken with Frontier and they're not sure why the paint job isn't actually showing up at the moment, but they are looking into it, so hopefully we'll hear more on that soon. At any rate, it's time to move on. I've been to a high intensity extraction site, and now it's time to go and have a look at the compromised nav beacons. In my experience, these particular type of beacons can be a little bit difficult to find. However, I do know that there's one located in the same system that I made the video during the beta. So it's a few jumps away, but I decided to head there. I wasn't entirely sure what I could expect in these areas. Like I say, that I knew the hazardous extraction sites could be quite tough, and I know from my beta experience that the compromised nav beacons are also pretty tough. Now, when I played in them with a federal gunship, which, as you know, are pretty powerful ships, certainly significantly more powerful than a Vulture. So going here in this ship is perhaps a little bit more risky, though certainly not as risky as going here in an Eagle or a Viper or a ship such as that. So one of my first targets in this site was an Imperial Clipper. Fortunately, he was occupied by other targets at the moment. In the compromised nav beacons, everyone pretty much attacks everyone else. It's very much a free-for-all. There's a lot of wanted characters in here. There is a few clean characters, but of course there's no police presence whatsoever. Which means if you're so inclined to do so, you can attack clean NPCs without much fear of repercussion. You shouldn't get a wanted tag for doing so at any rate, and you certainly won't get any police turning up to give you any hassle over it. Now, one thing you've got to watch out for in both the hazardous extraction sites as well as these compromised nav beacons is that some of the NPCs are in wings of up to 3, and whilst in previous versions of the game that may not have been much problem, it can be now, as sometimes you may find wings of 3 anacondas or other such combination of powerful ships. It's certainly not uncommon to find yourself threatened by 3 Imperial Clippers all at once. Now, when I returned back to the station there, I did take the opportunity to upgrade my shields. I've now got some class 5 shields on this Vulture, although they are only C rated at the moment. Once I get the opportunity and the money, I will upgrade to even more powerful shields, but I don't plan on staying in this ship for too long. It is simply a means to an end to get some more funds in order to upgrade my Clipper so that I can return to these zones with that ship. Whilst then I may not be particularly brilliant at combat, it's certainly not my greatest strength. These zones are certainly a lot of fun, and if you're willing to try and take on the harder targets and tougher wings, you should find this a challenge even in some of the larger ships. For now though, I'm going to try and stay here as long as possible and try and build up my Clipper funds kitty. Now before I go, I'm going to leave you with a quick clip from Draven Darken. This is from his new YouTube series called Darken Space, and the first episode is called Hope. It's a particularly brilliant piece of viewing, so I highly recommend watching it. And you can find a link to his video and his YouTube channel in the video description here. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.
This is the day I say goodbye. Goodbye to everything I've ever known. If I'm to have a tomorrow, it'll need to be entirely different from all my yesterdays. This is the place I've always called home. As a child, I dreamed of traveling the galaxy, and I did eventually learn to fly after a fashion, but one thing and then another have kept me here. In fact, to this day, I've never been more than 15 light years away from where I was born. That's about to change.
Since you saw me last time on Imperial Runner, I've been through quite a number of career options. Mining is where you left me at the end of the previous episode, and it's something I spent quite a bit of time doing. We'll get to that in a little while. I'll let you know exactly what went on there. The plan with this ship has always been to build it up slowly, bit by bit, improving each module as I go, making money as opportunities present themselves, and then investing that money directly back into the ship again.